Hello, YouTube. Ultra Mega Mighty. You ever have a bad day after a bad day? First one was bad enough, but second one makes you want to strangle a goat even harder. Except now the goat has friends, and you want to strangle all of them with a double-barreled shotgun instead of your hands. I feel like we've been here before. Have we been here? I think we've been here before. Yep, it's that time again. Time to rip open a man-and-a-half brand can of whoop-ass and see if Doom 2 stacks up to the original with the Brutal mod backing it up. Yes. Yes, it does. What? It's a sequel that surpasses the original. Do I really need to expand on that? Okay, fine. Let's do this thing. So, Brutal Doom 2. I'll start by saying that there isn't that much for me to say. Most of what the Brutal mod does for Doom 2 was covered in my first review. Although there is one thing that I missed entirely. I kind of forgot about the invisibility spheres being replaced with Marines that you can rescue. Once freed, they'll run around like psychotic sociopaths on speed trying to kill anything that isn't you. So, standard issue Marines. If you see one, save him as fast as you can, watch him go. Keep an eye on where they throw their grenades though. I didn't say they were smart Marines. So, very standard issue. As for new changes, the super shotgun and the new monsters have all gotten the brutal treatment, but it seems a little less brutal than Doom 1. The super shotgun being able to fire one barrel at a time seems more like a natural thing that should have been there in the first place, which is very nice and makes the gun a hell of a workhorse. Speaking of weaponry, you can actually get your hands on the Revenant's rocket launchers, the fireball cannons from Incubus, and the guns from the Nazi SS. None of these three really hit all that hard, but the shoulder rocket launchers and fireball cannon can be very useful in conserving ammunition against mobs of weak to moderately tough enemies. You can also cheat to get a few extra weapons that are really fun to play with, and I would encourage you to do so at least once. As for the new monsters, they seem to have more oomph just from what they were to begin with, and not so much from what the mod did to them. Many of their attacks are more powerful in some way, but they haven't really been heavily modified in the same way the original monster roster was. But I guess that speaks more in favor of the original design than really against the mod. These new creatures are interesting and a decent, fun, challenging addition to this game. Except the Archvile. Fuck the Archvile, and the designer that made it, and the horse he rode in on. I fucking hate you. All of the new monsters are incredibly bad for your ability to remain a member of the I'm Alive Healthspawn Resort, but in my book, the Archvile is the absolute king of Fuck You Village, nestled comfortably in the Ass Hat Valley, within the son of a bitch province of Fuckervania. Go fight 2 or 3, you'll see what I mean. Now I'm sure some of you are thinking, but if all the new monsters are tough and dangerous, wouldn't that make Doom 2 way harder than Doom? Yeah. Well, first, learn how to talk right. And second, no, not really. The core mechanics haven't changed at all, so there's nothing to add to the difficulty there. This one was longer than the original Doom before the Ultimate Doom came out, so you're looking at 27 levels across 3 episodes. Doom 2 is 32 levels. But that length increase actually works in the sequel's favor. In the original, you lost all your gear when switching episodes, because fuck you, that's why. Here, it's one continuous trek to the entire game, so you keep everything you pick up all the way through. This allowed the level designers to slow down the pacing a bit and gradually introduce you to all the monsters over a longer span of levels, as well as dole out weapons and ammo at a reasonable rate. There are still places where you get some nasty difficulty spikes, and some of the traps will really test you, but for the most part, Doom 2 is actually even more fair than the original Doom. Typically, the harder the level is, the more health and armor pickups you find in it, and ammo is fairly plentiful. If you stick to using the right weapon for the job, you'll never run out of ammo for anything, and you'll always have what you need when you need it. And no, I'm not going to tell you which one to use and where. That's your job to figure out. The levels in general are very creative, and unfortunately that means the traps are even more so. While they all pretty much boil down to monster closets, it's their varied complexity, environment use, and monster selection that make them more worthy of notice than the traps of the first game. There are a slew of great examples of this throughout the game, even though after a while they lose their surprise factor and you pretty much start to expect them every time you pick up something important. Speaking of traps in general, most of the damaging floors in Doom 2, like lava, acid, toxic waste, also have a way out. They may not be readily apparent, but there are far fewer that would outright trap and kill you than ones with some kind of way out. In this particular game, if you die in acid, it's usually your fault. Of course, there are still places where you just end up trapped. Dicks. Large outdoor areas are also a big change from the first game's sparse use of anything that even really truly felt like it was outside. Levels 13 through 16 show this off pretty well. 15 in particular, since it's quite large and allows the Brutal mod to really show off the assault rifle's ability to snipe. The final third of the game is where the difficulty really starts to pick up, but even that's manageable thanks to the pacing and the fairly generous ammo. I never even had to do a stand-up fight with any of the boss-type creatures that they throw at you. Every time I came across a spider mastermind or a cyber demon, there was some way around the true fight. Be it invulnerability spheres, infighting, or just not needing to fight at all, there's some way of negating each and every one of these creatures that used to be episode bosses. Really hammers home that they really aren't the ones in charge anymore.
Go forth, my minions, and crush the... What are you doing? Why are you shooting each other?
And just a quick note, the secret levels are really neat. The two in this game are an excellent recreation of two levels from Wolfenstein 3D. It's first-person shooter. Right down to the Nazi artwork on the walls. Tricky to get to, but really fun and memorable. The one thing I was disappointed with in all this was the final boss. It's a wall. That's it. After all the running and gunning against tough, interesting demons, the final boss is an enemy whose only attack is spewing other demons at you and sitting there. Existing. It was slightly tougher in the unmodded game, but with basically any mod that lets you aim with the mouse, you can kill it in the time it took me to describe it, or your pizza's free. That's a bit weak to me. But that's it, really. That's the game. There's a short expansion for Doom 2 that came with the Doom 3 BFG edition that's basically more of the same. 8 regular levels, 1 secret level like in the episodes in Doom 1. It really feels like a continuation here, as the levels are each about as long as the ones near the end of Doom 2, and there's a definite difficulty spike going in. That said, this extra bit didn't really feel necessary to me. It's 9 extra levels that Doom 2 really didn't need, and it didn't really bring anything new to the table, but they're still really nice and very well designed. Give it a go if you get your hands on it, but after the Brutal mod and Doom 3, it feels kind of like a step backward. Now, I said last time that the Ultimate Doom was a masterpiece with the Brutal mod, and I stand behind that. This time, I'm going a step further and saying Doom 2 is a masterpiece without it. Even though a lot is the same, the overall pacing and design of the levels and new monsters is just that damn good. Adding the Brutal mod is basically like adding a second layer to a chocolate cake. It's good with 1 layer. It's good with 2 layers. It's just fucking good! I don't have a logo for it yet, but I'm granting this game a R.E.G.I.O seal of greatness. Seriously, give this one a shot if you're a fan of first-person shooters at all. If you're not, it's a great place to start if you want to try something different. No joke, this really is an absolute masterpiece. But that's enough about Doom 2. I'll be back next week with more of the same. How about that shit? Next time.